Get this disclaimer out of here. Let's go to the good stuff. Bam. Heathen Dogs, Heathen Dogma, Tabletop Gaming Fundamentals. Champions, 6th edition. Live it, know it, love it. Now, if you remember, the publication date, this thing's gone through, like I said, 6 editions from 1981 to 2010. This last one apparently stuck because it's been here the longest. A publisher by Hero Games. You can get the PDF for $20. You can get the softcover black and white for $40. And Garthon found a physical copy on eBay for, I believe it was between $40 and $45. So that's good, right? Yeah. All right. Let's get to this. Now, what we did last time, we did our power level, which is our starting character point base. We sussed that all out. We also did my character concept, because if you don't have a character concept going into this thing, you're going to do a page 1 rewrite 3 or 4 times. It's going to take days to make a character, so don't do that. Have a clear image of what you want in mind. We did that. Check. We went to our characteristics, our basic stats: strength, dex, constitution, body, endurance, recovery. Got it all. Did it all. Done. Check. And we did our skills. My character is a PI, so he's got lots of PI skills. All right. Check. Today we're going to do perks, talents, and powers. That's what we're doing today. So let's get on to it. Now, perks. Perks are useful resources, items, privileges, and benefits a character has. This is stuff that isn't super powerful, that other people can have and commonly do, but you have as well. For example, the perk of access means that you have access to a place or places that the general populace cannot get into. You know, you have an ID to get into the federal building. You have a standing backstage pass for a given venue. Okay, it costs 1 to 5 character points depending on how all-encompassing or important that access is. And then, of course, there's money. That's 0 to 15 character points in perks, because 0 is lower to upper middle class. You're living paycheck to paycheck, or you're doing fairly well, saving some money, Or 15, you have unlimited funds. Now, in a fight with a super bad, this probably isn't going to work out too great for you. I mean, you could bribe them to go away, I guess, but that usually doesn't happen. Now, another one I want to talk about is contacts. Now, I put a table on here, right here, just because it's pretty all-encompassing, so let's check it out. For the cost of 1 character point, you get a basic 8- contact. That means to call this contact, to successfully get a hold of him, you have to roll an 8 or less on a 3d6. Or you can pay 2 and bring that up to 11. For every 1 above that, you add 1. So getting an 8 and adding 3 doesn't make sense. Get the 2, and if you want to add from there, add from there. And then -1 if your contact is limited by identity. If your contact doesn't know you're a hero, only knows you, or only knows your hero and doesn't know your secret identity, well, then you can only approach him as one or the other, not both, to effectively have the contact. And then, of course, if he has useful skills, you wouldn't have him as a contact if he didn't have useful skills. If he has very useful or extremely useful skills, going to cost more. Contact access to a major institution. Say you have a contact in the CIA. Okay. Then he's got a lot more clout than your average contact. So, yeah, it's going to cost more. He has significant contacts of his own. He's a deputy director of the FBI. He's got a whole office that he can push around to get done what you need to be done. So there you go. And there's a whole bunch of others. Now, these are just 3 of the dozen or so perks. Now, let's see what I picked. Now, remember who I am, all right? I'm a down on my luck PI. Okay? That's it. So, perks, not a lot. I got one guy, Sergeant Blonsky. I got him for 5 character points. 11 or less, should be 11 minus. ID limited, he only knows me as the PI, since at the beginning of my campaign, I'm not super powered yet. He is very useful. I mean, he's a sergeant in the local police department. He's very useful. He has significant contacts, and we have a good relationship. It makes it easier for him to say yes when he wants to say no. And I have fake IDs, which gives me access. Now, how good is that? Well, only 2. I didn't get 5. They aren't perfect. If someone has a forgery skill or something similar to spot fake IDs, well, they're probably going to see through it. But your average bouncer, your average, minimum wage security guard, no, I'm good. Don't worry. And I got a vehicle. Well, a base. I got a base. Vehicles and bases are the same category. I got a base. It's my PI office. I live there. That's right. Yeah, I'm doing really well. I got 75 character points for my base for 15 real points. Now, this is going to be a package deal. It's going to be an office space. I might add a bed because he lives there, and maybe a hot plate and microwave and a fridge, stuff like that. Now, after spending all of this, what do I have? 240 points out of my 300 left over. Okay. All right, good. We're moving along. We're doing great. Now, talents. Let's talk about talents. Everyone has got to be good at something. Talents are unusual abilities or unique attributes that you have that most people don't. They could be as easy as being able to roll your tongue or being ambidextrous. Stuff like that. It's not a superpower. It's just something that most people just don't have. For example, animal friendship. Animals just like you, man. It costs 20 character points, but any animal, whether it's hostile or not, has a better chance of liking you over everyone else. Could come in handy. Or a light sleeper. This one only costs 3 points, and it allows you to awaken with a perception roll. Everyone else gets a perception at -6. So let's say they have an average perception. That's an 11 minus roll. They're actually rolling a 5 minus if they're asleep. You do not get that. You're a light sleeper. You get regular 11 minus, which is great. Now, there's one here that GMs don't like giving out. It's Danger Sense. Danger Sense is a very powerful talent. It has a stop sign right next to it to tell you that, hey, this is probably not going to fly. But let's take a look at it. For 15 points, you get a basic Danger Sense. When something bad's going to happen, you get a Spider Sense tingly thing. But if you want it to function as an actual sense, like you can focus your Danger Sense, add 2. For every +1 to the roll, normal roll is 11 minus, you get a +1. Let's see, cost, in or out of combat, if perceivable by if you can hear it, feel it, touch it, like a wind moves, in or out of combat, bam, plus you get, for +5 character points, you can sense it. Or if it's any danger, in or out of combat, even if it's not perceivable by your senses, this is now a supernatural sense. There's no physical reason you should be able to know you're about to get shot from 2,000 yards away, but you do. That costs a lot. All right. So, there's, like I said, dozens more. What did I get? Not much. Like I said, down on his luck PI. He doesn't have a lot of talents. If he did, he wouldn't be down on his luck, would he? No. So, he took speed reading to, glean through files much faster while he's sneaky, That costs 4 character points, and that allows you to read 10 times normal speed. Great. Bump of Direction. Kind of weird title, but what it means is you have a great, not only sense of direction, but you can accurately gauge direction up, down, left, right, no matter where you are with no reference point. And on any navigation roll, you get a +2. So if it was, say, 11 minus, now it's a 13 minus. That's great. That's what I got. What do I have left? 233. Okay, 233 sounds great to me. What else we got? Powers. Finally, powers. All right, well, this is where all your points evaporate. Now, instead of going over all the powers, there are literally several dozen of them, more than several dozen of them. Let's go through the categories and the creation checklist, and then I'll show you what I did. Power categories, adjustment powers. These raise or lower characteristic powers of yourself or other people. This is like in DC Comics, the Leech, where he takes points from your power and transfers it to him. Okay, and then we have attack powers. This is your basic hand-to-hand attack, ranged attack, ranged killing attack, hand-to-hand killing attack, stuff like that. You can call it whatever you want. Wolverine claws, a bullet from a gun, a sword, whatever. You get to say what it is. And then we have the automation powers. This is only used if you're making a robot or an undead character. It you don't bleed. You have oil instead of blood or something like that. All this stuff. Body affecting powers. Alter or improve the character's body. This is increasing your own stats. Or I think maybe even healing. Good. Sounds great. Defensive powers. These body armor, force fields, damage negation, where you control kinetic energy. So You lessen by 75% any kinetic energy that comes near you with a hurtful manner or whatever. Great. Mental powers. Hey, Professor X all the way, right? Movement powers. Running, leaping, flying, teleportation, faster than light travel. You can get that. I didn't get that, but you can get that. Sensory powers. X-ray vision, N-ray vision. You can call it whatever you want. Infrared vision, telescopic vision, microscopic vision. They got it all. Size powers. Ant-Man, Giant Man. You can do either, or both. Special powers. These are powers that can't go into frameworks. One of them is Endurance Reserve, which I took, so I'll show you that later. And then anything else goes into what's called standard powers. Anything that doesn't quite fit in these categories, it gets caught in this catch-all. So, what's the checklist? Here we go. Number 1, choose the power that best represents the ability you want your character to have. Let's say you want your character to have a minigun like Jesse Ventura from Predator. Great. That is a range killing attack. That's the name of the power, range killing attack. Great, got it. Decide how much power you want the character to have as indicated by the power's description and note the character point cost. Okay, well a minigun's got a lot of damage, right? So let's say it does 30 d6 damage. All right, that's gonna be a lot of points, but let's do it. Now the adders is new from my edition, 4th edition. I don't know if it was in 5th edition, but of course it's definitely in 6th. Now, it's kind of like advantages, which I'm familiar with, but I stayed away from it because without an experienced GM to bounce off of, I didn't know if I was going to use them correctly. So I skipped that. So we're skipping a 4. Find the advantages you want the power to have. The minigun. One of the advantages, one of the great advantages for a range killing attack is armor penetrating. So your bullets from this minigun ignore 1/2 of the object or person you're shooting's armor value. All right, right off the bat, you're doing great. And then we find limitations. Well, the limitation for a gun is obvious. It only has so many bullets. These are called charges. Now, a minigun, if you have a drum, is going to have hundreds and hundreds. If you have a belt. If you have a belt fed that's just wrapped around you like in Rambo, and it's just, maybe you have 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 charges, then, you might see some benefit to that. But usually if you have over 36 charges, you get no benefit because now you're just shooting everybody for days. But a minigun runs out of charges really fast, so maybe the Game Master will give you some slack on that. I don't know. But let's go ahead and find out what I did take. I am the Avatar of the Sun. So what did I take? I took a blast. Now, I'm going to call this a laser blast because sun, light, light and heat. That's what laser is, light and heat. Great. Now, I took some disadvantages because I wanted to get it for cheaper. It only works during the day. A -1/2 disadvantage. Double the endurance cost. That means anything you do, running, jumping, lifting, and using powers costs endurance. When your endurance is your stamina. When your stamina runs out, you're tired and can't do that physical activity anymore. Well, when your endurance runs out, you can't do the power anymore. You have to wait, you have to rest, you have to gain back that endurance. Now, after all of this, it turns out it's going to cost 25 character points. Now, what I'd forgotten in these slides is to show you the math. Now, the math is long, arduous, but I'm going to give you the heads up right here. Now, 10d6, normally it's 5 points for every 2 points for every no, you know what? I'm not going to do it. We're just going to I did the math correctly. I checked it 5 times. Don't worry about it. What, Garthon, you got a problem? No? Oh, okay, cool. All right. And then we have teleportation. 86 meters. Doesn't seem like far. I mean, it's not really. I mean, you can buy it with non-combat multipliers. You can buy it with, if you have optional rules of mega distance, you can buy it like that. But I didn't want to get into all that for this test character, so I just got it regular, got it straight up. Only during the day, because that's my guy's theme. He's powered by the sun, so he only has his powers during the day. All right? And he must pass through the intervening space. Normally, teleportation is you cease existing here and begin existing here instantaneously, which is great. But I wanted a hyper fast flight. The only problem is getting flight that fast is extremely expensive. I couldn't afford it even if it was my only power. So I got teleportation with the limitation that I exist in between the space that I'm traveling to and from. So if I'm in a grapple, I can't teleport out of the grapple. If there's a wall in between where I'm going, I will have to smash through that wall and take damage of whatever the wall damage is going to be, remember what the wall is made of, whatever. And this one is double endurance cost as well. So in real cost, it cost me 38 character points. Great. 25, 38, keeping a tally. Okay. Now, I got an endurance reserve. All right. Now, this is special. Now, normally, your endurance, your physical endurance, it powers your physical feats of strength and agility and stamina and your powers. If you buy the endurance reserve, your powers feed all off of this. They get all of their endurance from the reserve, not your personal endurance. So any feats of strength or running or jumping that I do will go off my personal endurance and not touch my power reserve. Great. Okay, I got it for recovery only works during the day. Now, here's where that's important. I have a 140 point pool that I can draw from. All right. When I draw it dry, I can't use any powers. Now, every phase, the end of every phase, it's called a post-12 segment, I get 40 points back. All right? Now, this is important because this recovery is the only way I can refill this reserve. Now, with your physical endurance, you can actually take a recovery time by losing your action. I forfeit my action to take a recovery. And you take your physical recovery that adds to your physical endurance. With this power, I cannot do that. I only get it on the post-12, the post-segment 12 recovery phase that everyone gets. So when it does not recover, that's bad. That's why that's the minimum. That's Garthon, I'm telling you right now. That's the minimum. The minimum is -2. It says so in the power. All right? So I don't want to hear anything about that. Good. Now, it only works during the day. The recovery only works during the day. Notice this power does not have the limitation only during the day because I couldn't have both. I wanted the better one because I'm not an idiot. All right? Because if it only works during the day, recovery only working during the day doesn't make sense. Obviously not, because the whole power doesn't work during the day, dummy. So I got rid of that part and went to the better cost to me. Now, the endurance cost for the endurance reserve, 140 points, cost me 35 character points. The recovery with that giant -2 limiter only cost me 13 character points. Great. Adding it all up. Okay. Resistant protection. This is force field, armor, kinetic dampening, energy dampening, whatever you want to call it. This diminishes damage from other people that want to do it to you. I mean, this takes away damage from bullets or energy blasts or whatever. It's physical damage resistance and energy damage resistance. They have to be bought separately. I bought both of them at 25 for a total of 50, but I split them up. You can split them any way you want. I could have went 49 and 1, but that just seems a little too off kilter. So I got 25 and 25, which is very respectable. Now, again, only work during the day. That's fine. Perceivable at a -1/4 limitation. Perceivable means that it is a visible field around my body. So it's obvious that I have a force field. No one's going to be caught by surprise by this one. And this one's a little weird. Garthon, hang on. Hang on, man. Linked to endurance reserve, a positive endurance reserve. Now, I put an asterisk on here because I want to explain it. Now, normally a linked power works like this. You have a main power, say an energy blast. It's right here. And you want to link a power to it. If you do that, the second power gets the advantage, the 1/4 limitation on its cost, because you cannot use it separate from the primary power. When you fire this primary power, both of these powers go off, and you must pay both the endurance, but both of the effects happen as well. Now with this, I couldn't find a limitation I was looking for. So the Game Master and I got together and we came up with this. It is linked to a positive endurance reserve, meaning that If my endurance reserve goes to 0 for any reason at all, this power stops working. Now, normally, mind you, this power has 0 endurance cost. So without this limitation, even if I were completely depleted of solar energy, I would still have this protection. That didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense at all. If I'm completely depleted of solar energy, I would not have a force field, right? Makes sense. So we came up with this. And it turned my real cost into 35 points. Now, let's see what else I got. I increased all of my characteristics using powers because I wanted the only during the day and linked to a positive endurance reserve limitations as well. Because if my solar battery is completely depleted, I cannot have all of these increased stats. It doesn't make sense for my character. So I increased my dex, con, intelligence, ego all by 10. I purposefully did not do strength because I have a 10 strength. That means the first 2 points of endurance, if I use my full strength, will come from my physical endurance, and the next 2 points would come from my endurance reserve. I don't feel like doing that kind of math, obviously. So I got rid of that all the way. I don't use it. Any feats of strength, of running or jumping that I do is going to come from my physical endurance rather than my endurance reserve. Now, my ego, this one I wanted to go up higher, but in the end, I didn't have the points for it because my presence, this is the kicker, that feel, that glow, increases my presence plus 30 to a total of 40, which is amazing. I mean, it's like Morgan Freeman narrating your life. It's phenomenal. So that's what I got. And then I increased my stun by 28 points. That's over double. My OCV and DCV, if you remember from the last episode, offensive combat value and defensive combat value, 2 hit and not being hit, I increased by 4. The base is 3, so that's an over double. That's nice. Speed plus 2, that's double normal. Okay, so all of that together, all of these powers, what do I have left? Goose egg. I spent it down to 0. All right, now, what does that look like? Well, it looks like this. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna full screen this thing for you. All right, here you go. As you can see, I have 2 stats for most of my physical stats over on the left, 10 and 20, 10 and 40, 225, 10, 20, and 20, 48. That's because during the day, when I have endurance in my endurance reserve, I have the higher stats. Now, 20, you can say 20, oh, it's not that much. I've seen characters with 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 strength. Yeah, yes, you have. But for normal human being, 20 is the maximum. So like overnight, actually one morning, my character went from completely average to, in almost every category, an Olympic level athlete. He calls that a win. I call that a win too. Then we have our endurance. My physical endurance is 20. My endurance reserve is 140. My body, 10 body, that's hit points, basically, when I'm not powered up, and 20 when I am. Stun, 20 when I'm not, 48 when I am. And we have our hand-to-hand damage. For every 5 character points you have in strength, your hand-to-hand damage is 1d6. So normally I have a 2d6 when I'm powered up. This is before I took off the strength, so scratch that. It's 2d6 all the time. Just 2 endurance cost all the time. My OCV and DCV, as you can see, 3 and 7. My mental OCV and mental DCV, I stayed at 3 because I ran out of points. I really want to do something, but I ran out of points. And you look below that, you see my defenses. Now, the difference between normal defense and resistant defense, a lot of people get this a little confused. It's changed from 4th edition to 6th edition. Normal defense defends against stun, all stun damage. All right, perfectly. Resistant defense defends against body damage. They are separate because a ranged stun attack will do a massive amount of stun but very little body damage, whereas a ranged killing attack like a bullet will do stun damage but a massive amount of body damage compared to the regular ranged. So having resistant is helpful. Now, complications, you're supposed to have, for my level, I think 50 points of complications. Complications, they are a mechanic that I don't believe in. It's the game is making you take disadvantages without giving you points for it. I call that good role playing. So as long as you have a good role player, doesn't care. Don't care about that. Now, let's move over to the right side. You can see I got all my skills, perks, and talents. Now, as you can see, not all of them, but a good chunk of my skills, which are started acting, are presence-based. And in my avatar form, my presence rolls are 17 or less. You're only rolling 3d6, and an 18 is automatic failure. So without any minuses, I cannot fail unless I roll all sixes, which is great. And then we go over to the powers. They give you the cost, the what it's called. I call it the laser. It's actually a blast of 10d6, and it costs 10 endurance because it's double. Normally it would cost 5, but I got double, so it's 10. And we have our teleportation. I call it light speed flight, and that costs 24. And you see it says 75 meters. That was the previous draft. Instead of 86, I had 75. That was just the previous draft. I'm sorry. And then we have the solar power endurance reserve, 140 and 40, and the solar aura that gives me the resistant defense of 25 in each of physical and energy defense, and the avatar body, which is all of my characteristic increase. And you take all that together, 67 points in skills, perks, and talents, 233 points in powers, and you get 300, which is my characteristic limit. Well, yay. All right. And that's it. That's making a character in Champions. Now, I think Garthon may have something to say about the limitations I took, especially the link to a positive endurance. Garthon, anything you say now, say it now, or forever hold your peace. Go. All right, good talk. All right, what do we have next? Don't miss an episode of all of this. Follow us on Twitch. Hit the notifications. Subscribe. Really, you could do it. Bam! Hit the button. It's good stuff. All right. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, click the subscribe button and do not miss the notification bell. You want to know when one of these episodes hits the air. You want to know it. All right. And of course, you can see more Heathen Dogma on YouTube. All this and my team ups with Garthon and Warframe and Star Trek Online. And you can see all of my past streams. They're all on YouTube. They're all on Twitch. But Mondays at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, I will be playing Soma, a complete playthrough from beginning to end. So there's that. Well, what do we have next? Well, it should be Garthon, but no, it's an anime on the stream. That's right. Special request from me, I guess, because there's no one else here. Garthon's